India's labor market is experiencing a mechanical failure. The education system is mass-producing credentials far faster than the economy creates high-quality roles, breaking the established assumption that a university education guarantees economic participation. This line graph tracks unemployment in India from 1983 to 2023. The national average sits at a modest 4.9%. But when the data zooms in on graduates under the age of 25, the rate spikes to 39.33%. The labor market shock is intensely concentrated on the exact demographic that followed the rules. This Sankey flow diagram visualizes the mathematical root of the problem. On the supply side, the higher education system pumps approximately 5 million new graduates into the labor market every single year. On the demand side, the Indian economy has the physical capacity to generate only about 2.8 million suitable graduate-level jobs annually. This creates a structural shortfall of 2.2 million jobs per graduating cohort. The system physically cannot absorb the supply it creates. This massive overflow of graduates does not disappear. They park themselves back inside the education system. They enroll in further degrees or spend years locked in repetitive exam preparation, effectively waiting in a holding pattern for a labor market that cannot clear the backlog. Today, roughly 67% of unemployed youth are graduates. Under these specific structural conditions, holding a university degree has mathematically transitioned from being a protective economic asset into a primary risk factor for joblessness. The job market waiting for these graduates is sharply segmented. Out of the millions completing their education, fewer than 7% secure a permanent salary job within a year of finishing college. The funnel narrows even further when looking at stable white-collar office roles. Only 3.7% of degree holders land these highly sought-after positions. This dual-axis chart reveals the central paradox of the crisis. According to the 2026 India Skills Report, as the youth unemployment rate climbs, measured employability scores are simultaneously rising to 56.35%. The data shows an economy producing increasingly employable candidates who simultaneously cannot find work. To parse this, we have to define the terms. In these reports, employability strictly measures an individual's capability against a psychometric, paper-based benchmark. It evaluates test performance, not market fit. Unemployment, conversely, measures the cold arithmetic of job creation, whether the market actually generates enough physical desks and payrolls for all those capable individuals. These employability scores also suffer from a severe sampling bias. These assessments capture the highly motivated, digitally connected, urban students who volunteer for the tests, rather than the complete national labor force. The economy is not suffering from an absolute shortage of capable human beings. The academic metrics used to define a ready worker have entirely detached from the reality of the labor market. This detachment is driven by a three-party perception illusion. Academia, students, and employers define readiness using entirely different criteria. The first node is academia. Colleges are incentivized by enrollment growth, pass rates, and syllabus completion, not by a graduate's actual performance. Updating a university syllabus requires navigating academic councils, boards of studies, and state regulators. This bureaucratic friction stretches curriculum refresh cycles to span 5 to 10 years. In AI and data, tools shift in under 3 years. By the time an academic update clears the board, the technology has already moved on. The second node is the students. For many middle-class families, anything less than a white-collar or government job is framed socially as a failure, creating intense pressure to seek out traditional signals of success. Years spent surviving hyper-competitive exam architectures, like the JEE or NEET, condition students to chase cutoffs and ranks. To minimize visible failure, students avoid open-ended projects or intensive internships where weaknesses might be exposed. They know their own deficit. According to the NIIT 2026 report, students rate their job readiness at a dismal 57 out of 100. They know they have ticked all the academic boxes, yet they lack the confidence that these boxes translate into actual hireability. Despite this, they remain over-invested in chasing the very credentials that employers are actively discounting. Institutional rigidity and deep social fear trap students in an endless loop of collecting safe academic signals, precisely when the market demands real-world resilience. The third node is employers. Unlike universities, a business's survival depends squarely on productivity, customer satisfaction, and rapid innovation outcomes. When evaluating a fresh hire, employers optimize for time-to-billability. They define readiness strictly as a candidate's ability to operate tools, communicate with clients, and contribute to real projects within weeks. Internal academic assessments hold zero weight. The consensus from the demand side is clear. Employers consider 72. The graduate employment gap persists because all three parties are playing entirely different games, optimizing for definitions of success that cannot exist in the same environment. To bridge this gap, the traditional degree must be abandoned as a proxy for competence. It must be replaced with a framework that aligns what schools teach with what companies buy. We can map this on a radar chart, the Unified Readiness Rubric. This six-dimensional profile synchronizes academia, students, and employers. Axis 1 is foundational cognitive readiness, covering logical thinking and applying concepts to unscripted problems. Axis 2 is domain and technical readiness. This requires fluency with up-to-date industry workflows, discarding textbook theory for modern enterprise software. Axis 3 is digital, data, and AI readiness. Data literacy and comfort with AI tools are baseline expectations. Axis 4 is behavioral and soft skills, assessed through peer collaboration, group projects, and conflict resolution. Axis 5 is work practices readiness, measuring exposure to client deadlines, ambiguity, and real-world pressure through apprenticeships. True readiness is a complex, multidimensional behavioral profile. It completely invalidates the binary pass-fail mechanics of traditional university exams. The final dimension is proof of ability. Graduates must provide tangible evidence, curated GitHub repositories, design folios, micro-credentials, and verifiable outcomes from industry internships. When we overlay a traditional degree holder onto this chart, they score highly on foundational cognitive tests, but fail everywhere else. A modern skills-first candidate produces a wide, balanced web across all six axes. For this to scale, universities must stop tying graduation to theory exams. Progression must require demonstrated competence across all six dimensions. Students must shift their behavior. Waiting for safe, status-driven jobs has failed. They must actively build tangible proof of value in messy, real-world environments. Until policy, academia, and students completely align to measure verified capability rather than collected credentials, the math remains unavoidable. The backlog of frustrated, underemployed youth will simply continue to compound.